What if every move Deion Sanders made with his son was not just fatherly advice, but a cold, calculated chess play against the NFL's brutal meat grinder? Behind closed doors, Coach Prime orchestrated an unheard-of alliance with Deshaun Watson, not for casual mentorship, but to hand Shedeur the ultimate playbook for surviving league politics, media warfare, and cutthroat franchise pressure. While critics thought Shedeur was just hanging out with a controversial veteran star, he was actually absorbing million-dollar lessons on navigating executive boardrooms, complex coverage schemes, and contract negotiations. By positioning Shedeur directly in Watson's orbit, Prime built an impenetrable shield designed to bypass standard rookie traps and guarantee his son's survival where scores of top prospects fail. This wasn't a random football friendship. It was the most ruthless, long-game power move in modern NFL history, and it completely rewrites how elite prospects take over the league. To understand the architecture of this maneuver, one must first dismantle the prevailing narrative surrounding Deion Sanders. To the casual observer and the standard sports media ecosystem, Coach Prime is an electric, larger-than-life media personality whose primary currency is charisma, bold declarations, and high-octane branding. He appears on cameras clad in custom apparel, delivering preaching-style press conferences that dominate social media algorithms and drive ratings. Yet, beneath the gold whistles and trademark sunglasses lies one of the most calculated, ruthless football minds of the modern era. Deion Sanders did not dominate professional sports across 2 decades by accident, nor did he survive the cutthroat politics of professional athletics without developing a hyper-acute understanding of how power, capital, and organizational leverage actually operate inside front offices. When it came to guiding his son, Shedeur Sanders, Deion was never going to rely on the traditional standard path that leaves young talent entirely at the mercy of NFL front office bureaucracy. He saw the league for what it truly is, a meat grinder designed to extract maximum value from young athletes before discarding them the moment their rookie contracts expire or their initial development falters. Deion recognized that the standard NFL entry model is fundamentally flawed and inherently risky for top-tier quarterback prospects. Every year, elite collegiate throwers enter the league with generational arm talent, exceptional athletic gifts, and flawless college tape, only to be drafted by dysfunctional organizations that destroy their confidence, ruin their mechanics, and derail their long-term financial earning potential within 3 seasons. The fundamental problem is that young quarterbacks are expected to navigate complex, multi-million-dollar corporate environments while simultaneously absorbing terrifyingly intricate defensive schemes, all without a reliable map or an independent advocate who truly understands the inner workings of the league's high-stakes political machinery. Coach Prime realized early on that Shedeur needed something far more potent than ordinary coaching. He needed a master-level insider blueprint that extends far beyond the realm of X's and O's. He needed access to the hidden levers of NFL power, an understanding of high-dollar contract structures, and an intimate knowledge of how to operate when the surrounding organization turns chaotic. Enter the mastermind. Hypothesis: the intentional, highly strategic alignment between Shedeur Sanders and veteran quarterback Deshaun Watson. To the public eye, this alliance raised eyebrows, generating endless chatter and skepticism due to Watson's turbulent public profile and complex standing within the national sports media landscape. But Deion Sanders operates entirely above the noise of public relations commentary when a long-term strategic imperative is on the line. In Watson, Deion did not merely see a talented player, he saw a unique repository of unprecedented NFL experience. Watson represents a rare intersection in modern football. He possesses elite-level, top-tier processing abilities on the field, combined with first-hand experience navigating the most lucrative, fully guaranteed contract negotiation in NFL history. Watson had sat at the highest levels of executive leverage, survived immense national media scrutiny, and experienced the extreme pressure cooker of being the focal point of an NFL franchise. By actively encouraging and engineering a close, personal relationship between Shedeur and Watson, Coach Prime was effectively enrolling his son in an exclusive off-the-books executive fellowship. The objective was multi-layered and uncompromising. On a football level, Shedeur would gain access to a seasoned pro who could teach him how to dissect elite NFL coverages, manage film study like a seasoned veteran, and process information at speeds impossible to replicate in college practice settings. On a business level, Shedeur would learn the harsh realities of front office politics, how agents negotiate behind closed doors, how high-dollar guaranteed money is structured, and how to protect his personal brand when organizational tides turn hostile. Prime knew that if Shedeur could combine his own natural accuracy and poise with Watson's raw experience in managing the non-football pressures of the league, he would enter the NFL not as a naive rookie waiting to be conditioned by an organization, but as a fully formed executive athlete capable of insulated self-preservation. This alliance was not a product of chance, nor was it a casual summer training arrangement born out of geographic convenience. It was the calculated first movement of a broader strategy to disrupt the traditional dynamic between rookie quarterbacks and NFL front offices. Coach Prime understood that the traditional power dynamic always favors the franchise, leaving the young quarterback isolated, overworked, and structurally unprotected. By building a private, independent brain trust anchored by a veteran who had experienced the absolute highest highs and most intense pressures the league could offer, Deion effectively built an impenetrable fortress around his son's developmental timeline. Shedeur was not just being prepared to play in the NFL, he was being insulated against its traps, weaponized with political foresight, and positioned to take full control of his own professional destiny long before his name was ever called on draft night. What if every move Deion Sanders made with his son was not just fatherly advice, but a cold, calculated chess play against the NFL's brutal meat grinder? Behind closed doors, Coach Prime orchestrated an unheard-of alliance with Deshaun Watson, not for casual mentorship, but to hand Shedeur the ultimate playbook for surviving league politics, media warfare, and cutthroat franchise pressure. While critics thought Shedeur was just hanging out with a controversial veteran star, he was actually absorbing million-dollar lessons on navigating executive boardrooms, complex coverage schemes, and contract negotiations. By positioning Shedeur directly in Watson's orbit, Prime built an impenetrable shield designed to bypass standard rookie traps and guarantee his son's survival where scores of top prospects fail. This wasn't a random football friendship, it was the most ruthless, long-game power move in modern NFL history, and it completely rewrites how elite prospects take over the league. To understand why Deion Sanders went to such extreme lengths to engineer the Watson alliance, one must look at the body-strewn graveyard of high-profile rookie quarterbacks over the last 2 decades. The traditional pipeline of the National Football League is, by systemic design, hostile to young signal callers. Year after year, top-tier collegiate prospects are drafted into chaotic, poorly managed front offices that expect a 22-year-old kid to immediately become the savior of a broken, multi-billion-dollar enterprise. These rookies are routinely thrown into the fire behind dysfunctional offensive lines, forced to digest constantly rotating playbooks from coaching staffs on the hot seat, and exposed to brutal physical and mental punishment. Without a protective buffer, their processing speeds slow under relentless pressure, their throwing mechanics deteriorate, their confidence erodes, and within 3 seasons, they are discarded with the label of a failed draft bust. Coach Prime observed this repeating cycle with absolute clarity. He knew that raw arm talent and collegiate accolades mean nothing if a young passer is dropped into an organizational meat grinder without an independent, battle-tested operational framework. The standard NFL approach assumes that a rookie quarterback's development should be managed entirely by the organization that drafted him, relying on team-appointed coaches and mid-tier veteran backups whose own career self-preservation often disincentivizes true, transparent mentorship. Deion rejected this subservient model completely. He recognized that for Shedeur to break the cycle, he could not enter the professional ranks as an impressionable product of a franchise's internal developmental pipeline. He needed an external, highly sophisticated operational system, an elite mentorship shield that would operate outside the jurisdiction and control of any team executive or head coach. Deshaun Watson became the cornerstone of this shield precisely because his unique journey inside the NFL represents a masterclass in both ultra-high-level field processing and extreme organizational survival. On the field, Watson's ability to dissect coverage shells pre-snap, navigate congested pockets, and hold safety eyes with subtlest body language represents the highest tier of quarterback play in the modern game. By immersing Shedeur in intensive film study and physical workouts alongside Watson long before the NFL draft unfolded, Deion effectively bypassed years of trial and error learning. Rather than attempting to process terrifyingly fast NFL zone blitzes for the first time in live-fire games, Shedeur was coached to read defensive rotation triggers through the eyes of a veteran who had already solved those exact visual puzzles against elite defensive coordinators. This mentorship shield fundamentally transformed Shedeur's developmental arc by accelerating his mental clock and pre-snap processing speed to professional standards while he was still preparing for the league. While average rookies spend their first year in the league struggling to convert playbook diagrams into real-time instincts, Shedeur was taught how to study film with the clinical precision of a 10-year veteran. Watson walked him through the precise micro-adjustments required to handle exotic nickel pressure, how to manipulate weak-side linebackers using eyes and subtle shoulder fakes, and how to execute hot route conversions under immediate blitz pressure. This specific high-intensity transfer of knowledge meant that when Shedeur eventually stepped onto an NFL practice field, the game's blistering velocity would not shock his system. It would look like familiar territory he had already mapped out thousands of times in private film sessions. Crucially, the shield extended far beyond mechanical footwork and field vision. It served as a buffer against the devastating psychological pressure that crushes young quarterbacks thrust into toxic locker rooms. Under Watson's tutelage, Shedeur learned the vital art of compartmentalization, how to maintain absolute poise when play calls break down, how to manage dynamic locker room hierarchies with veteran teammates, and how to ignore the overwhelming noise of fan bases desperate for instant gratification. Coach Prime's strategic intervention ensured that Shedeur would never enter an NFL facility wide-eyed, vulnerable, or dependent on a coaching staff's goodwill for his survival. By forging an independent alliance with a premier veteran mind, Deion Sanders successfully constructed a protective blueprint that shielded his son from the fatal traps of the NFL rookie danger zone, ensuring Shedeur arrived in the pro ranks not as a developmental project, but as a fully realized, battle-ready starter. What if every move Deion Sanders made with his son was not just fatherly advice, but a cold, calculated chess play against the NFL's brutal meat grinder? Behind closed doors, Coach Prime orchestrated an unheard-of alliance with Deshaun Watson, not for casual mentorship, but to hand Shedeur the ultimate playbook for surviving league politics, media warfare, and cutthroat franchise pressure. While critics thought Shedeur was just hanging out with a controversial veteran star, he was actually absorbing million-dollar lessons on navigating executive boardrooms, complex coverage schemes, and contract negotiations. By positioning Shedeur directly in Watson's orbit, Prime built an impenetrable shield designed to bypass standard rookie traps and guarantee his son's survival where scores of top prospects fail. This wasn't a random football friendship, it was the most ruthless long-game power move in modern NFL history, and it completely rewrites how elite prospects take over the league. While the on-field tactical benefits of the Watson alliance were immediate, Coach Prime's true strategic vision extended into the far more ruthless arena of off-field league politics and financial leverage. Modern NFL franchises are corporate juggernauts accustomed to dictating terms to young athletes, using the draft structure and rookie wage scales to constrain player autonomy. Most young quarterbacks enter front office negotiations starry-eyed, placing complete trust in standard agency representation that often prioritizes agency-wide relationships with team executives over the player's unique long-term interest. Deion Sanders refused to let Shedeur be an unsophisticated participant in this high-stakes business environment. He needed a mentor who had successfully navigated the most complex executive power dynamics in football history. Deshaun Watson provided Shedeur with an unprecedented real-world case study in executive bargaining and financial structuring. Watson was not just another high-earning quarterback. He was the architect of a seismic shift in modern sports business, securing a historically landmark, fully guaranteed contract that fundamentally altered NFL labor dynamics. Through private sessions, Watson demystified the inner workings of corporate front office strategy for Shedeur. He taught the young passer how to evaluate sports agencies beyond surface-level prestige, how to identify hidden clauses in representation contracts, and how team executives manipulate media leaks to build public leverage during contract stalemates. Shedeur was taught to view his career not merely as a playing contract, but as an enterprise requiring strict corporate governance, disciplined cap navigation, and maximum guaranteed financial protection. This off-field blueprint also completely transformed how Shedeur approached interactions with general managers, team owners, and coaching staffs. Rather than operating with the traditional deferential posture of a rookie eager to please management, Shedeur was trained to read the political motives of team executives. Watson walked him through the corporate incentives that drive front office decision-making, explaining how job security for general managers often dictates quarterback management, how roster construction affects QB survival, and how to maintain independent leverage when organizational interests conflict with personal health or career longevity. Coach Prime's goal was clear. Shedeur would enter executive boardrooms not as an employee hoping for an opportunity, but as a seasoned executive peer who understood the precise value of his own talent and marketability. The second, equally vital pillar of Act 3 was masterclass-level preparation for handling public controversy and national media warfare. Few modern athletes have operated under the intense, relentless microscope that Deshaun Watson experienced during his career transition and public turmoil. Coach Prime recognized that in the modern sports media landscape, narrative warfare can dismantle a young quarterback's career just as effectively as poor offensive line play. Between the omnipresent gaze of social media, constant hot-take broadcast cycles, and localized fan pressure, a modern NFL quarterback must possess an ironclad psychological defense mechanism. By immersing Shedeur in Watson's world, Deion exposed his son to the absolute extreme of national media scrutiny. Watson demonstrated how to erect emotional walls against public noise, how to navigate hostile press conferences with controlled, neutral messaging, and how to prevent external narratives from leaking into locker room relationships. Shedeur learned how to deal with media echo chambers that magnify every mistake and weaponize every off-field gesture. Instead of being rattled by sharp criticism or sensationalized headlines, Shedeur developed a hardened corporate media posture, viewing press obligations as controlled public relations maneuvers rather than personal trials. Ultimately, Coach Prime's strategic integration of Watson into Shedeur's inner circle created a dual-purpose shield. It provided a sophisticated masterclass in high-dollar NFL business logic, while simultaneously conditioning the young quarterback to withstand the most toxic media environments imaginable. When Shedeur arrived on the professional stage, he did not possess the fragile, impressionable psychology typical of draft prospects. He walked into the league fully equipped to handle executive politics, negotiate high-dollar business landscapes, and remain entirely unflappable under the fiercest national media spotlight. What if every move Deion Sanders made with his son was not just fatherly advice, but a cold, calculated chess play against the NFL's brutal meat grinder? Behind closed doors, Coach Prime orchestrated an unheard-of alliance with Deshaun Watson, not for casual mentorship, but to hand Shedeur the ultimate playbook for surviving league politics, media warfare, and cutthroat franchise pressure. While critics thought Shedeur was just hanging out with a controversial veteran star, he was actually absorbing million-dollar lessons on navigating executive boardrooms, complex coverage schemes, and contract negotiations. By positioning Shedeur directly in Watson's orbit, Prime built an impenetrable shield designed to bypass standard rookie traps and guarantee his son's survival where scores of top prospects fail. This wasn't a random football friendship, it was the most ruthless, long-game power move in modern NFL history, and it completely rewrites how elite prospects take over the league. With the foundational mechanics and political armor securely in place, the master plan moved to its physical culmination, direct on-field symbiosis within the Cleveland Browns organization. Coach Prime's strategic positioning of Shedeur into the exact same quarterback room as Deshaun Watson created a high-stakes, win-win operational matrix that baffled traditional analysts but made absolute sense under the mastermind hypothesis. In this shared ecosystem, every possible outcome was pre-engineered to benefit Shedeur's long-term career trajectory. If Watson, returning from major injuries and massive public pressure, returned to his elite Pro Bowl form, Shedeur had a front-row seat to masterclass execution, absorbing high-level timing, pocket presence, and diagnostic processing from one of the game's most dynamic passers. Conversely, if Watson faltered, struggled under pressure, or succumbed to physical wear, Shedeur was positioned right behind him, armed with immediate locker room respect, fan backing, and total tactical readiness to step into the starting lineup seamlessly. This calculated environment was further supercharged by the offensive architecture implemented by the coaching staff. The arrival of an offensive coordinator like Todd Monken provided an ideal tactical bridge for both quarterbacks. Monken's spread-oriented, tempo-driven system, emphasizing fast post-snap reads, rhythm passing, and decisive horizontal stretching of the defense, matched the exact skill sets that both Watson and Shedeur thrived in. Rather than forcing a rookie quarterback into a rigid, archaic offensive scheme designed to limit mistakes, Monken's system encouraged aggressive vertical distribution, pre-snap identification, and rapid processing. This meant that the hours Shedeur had spent studying exotic coverages alongside Watson translated instantly onto the practice field, allowing him to command the huddle and dictate terms to the defense with a veteran's poise. The genius of this act lays in the complete removal of traditional rookie vulnerability. In most standard organizations, a young late-round or mid-round draft pick thrust into a quarterback room with an expensive, entrenched veteran is either completely ignored or subjected to passive-aggressive isolation. Deion Sanders short-circuited this dynamic by ensuring his son entered Cleveland not as a subordinate challenger but as an intellectual peer who had already trained in Watson's private lab. This created an unprecedented dynamic of mutual respect rather than toxic competition. Watson could see that Shedeur possessed the mental architecture of a starter, while Shedeur could lean on Watson's physical recovery timeline to maximize his own practice repetitions and command. Ultimately, this on-field coexistence transformed the Browns' quarterback room into an insulated proving ground. Coach Prime had bypassed the typical rookie baptism of fire by embedding his son directly beside the storm. By merging elite tactical alignment under a modern play caller with a dual quarterback leverage structure, Deion ensured that Shedeur was never at the mercy of organizational whims. Whether observing from the shoulder of a veteran star or executing plays at a lightning-fast pace on the field, Shedeur was systematically insulated, expertly coached, and flawlessly positioned to seize control of the franchise at the exact microsecond the opportunity presented itself.